6 months after my near-death experience, I had an encounter that shattered every assumption I had about the nature of reality and identity itself. I was in a deep meditative state, exploring the expanded consciousness territories I had discovered during my death experience, when suddenly I found myself in what appeared to be an advanced laboratory. The technology was familiar, yet somehow more sophisticated than anything I'd seen in this reality. And there, standing over a complex genetic sequencing apparatus, was me. But not me. This version of Elena was older, more weathered, wearing a white lab coat, her eyes carrying the weight of profound ethical dilemmas. She was a geneticist, and she was deeply troubled. As I observed this parallel version of myself, I could feel her internal conflict. She was working on genetic experiments involving the crossbreeding of different species, not just animals, but what appeared to be different types of conscious beings. The implications were staggering, and the ethical weight was crushing her. I could sense her thoughts as if they were my own. What have we done? What are we creating? Do we have the right to play with consciousness itself in this way? But here's what changed everything about my understanding of reality. I wasn't just observing this version of myself, I was simultaneously experiencing her memories, her knowledge, her emotional turmoil. I had access to decades of genetic research I had never studied in this lifetime. I understood complex DNA sequences I had never learned. I felt the weight of ethical decisions I had never faced. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't a dream. This was direct access to another version of myself existing simultaneously in a parallel reality. And through this encounter, I finally understood what quantum physicists mean when they talk about the holographic nature of the universe. Every version of yourself that exists across infinite parallel realities is accessible to you right now. Your consciousness isn't limited to this one timeline, this one body, this one set of experiences. You are a holographic being, existing simultaneously across infinite dimensions, and today I'm going to show you exactly how this works and why understanding this changes everything. Because if you're watching this video, there's a version of you in another reality who has already mastered everything you're struggling to learn in this one. The question is, are you ready to meet them? Let me introduce you to the revolutionary science that explains how my encounter with my geneticist self is not only possible, but inevitable according to our current understanding of quantum mechanics and holographic theory. The holographic principle, developed by Nobel Prize-winning physicists Leonard Susskind and Gerard Hooft, states that all the information contained in any volume of space can be completely described by information encoded on its two-dimensional boundary, like a hologram. This means that what we experience as three-dimensional reality is actually a projection from a higher dimensional information source. Every part of a hologram contains the information of the whole, and this is exactly how consciousness operates across parallel realities. In the Wholeness and the Implicate order, quantum physicist Bohm proposed that beneath our visible reality, what he called the explicate order, exists an implicate order, where all possibilities exist simultaneously in an enfolded state. According to Bohm, every particle, every moment, every possibility that could ever exist is already present in the implicate order. What we experience as sequential reality is simply the universe unfolding specific possibilities from this infinite field of potential. When I encountered my geneticist self, I was accessing the implicate order directly, where all versions of Elena exist simultaneously. Hugh, Everett 3 and Sean Carroll. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics states that every possible outcome of every quantum event creates a branching parallel universe. This means that for every decision you make, every path you don't take, there exists a parallel reality where you made the opposite choice. My geneticist self exists in a reality where I made different choices, pursued different studies, face different ethical dilemmas. But according to many worlds theory, both versions are equally real. Astronaut and physicist Edgar proposed that consciousness itself operates as a quantum hologram, where every aspect of your experience is encoded in a field that transcends space and time. This holographic consciousness field contains not just your current lifetime memories, but access to all possible versions of yourself across infinite parallel realities. Hal Puthoff and Bernard Heisch. Research in zero-point field physics shows that the quantum vacuum, the so-called empty space between particles, actually contains infinite amounts of information. This quantum information field is where all possibilities, all timelines, all versions of reality are stored. Physicist Nassim Haramein's research suggests that every point in space-time contains access to the information of the entire universe, a truly holographic structure where each part contains the whole. Dr. Michael Persinger's research shows that stimulation of specific brain regions can trigger experiences of meeting other selves and accessing memories that don't belong to the current lifetime. These aren't hallucinations. They're the brain accessing its holographic connection to parallel reality information. Dr. Rick Strassman's research with DMT shows that this naturally occurring molecule in our brains can trigger experiences of accessing parallel realities and alternate versions of self. This suggests our neurobiology is already equipped for multidimensional consciousness access. After my encounter with my geneticist self, I became obsessed with understanding the practical mechanics of how this holographic existence actually works. Through both research and direct exploration, I've mapped out exactly how your parallel selves influence your current reality every single day. And the 3 types of holographic bleed-through are: Type 1, skill and knowledge downloads. Sometimes you suddenly know something you never learned. This isn't past life memory, it's your consciousness accessing knowledge from parallel selves who did learn these skills. After meeting my geneticist self, I found myself understanding genetic concepts I had never studied. I could visualize DNA sequences, understand inheritance patterns, and grasp genetic ethics discussions at a level that should have taken years to develop. Type 2, emotional pattern recognition. You experience emotions or reactions that seem disproportionate to your current life experiences. These are often emotional patterns from parallel selves bleeding through into your awareness. The ethical anguish my geneticist self was experiencing began influencing my decision-making process in this reality. I became more sensitive to the ethical implications of scientific advancement, even in areas I wasn't directly involved with. Type 3, intuitive guidance streams. Those sudden insights, creative breakthroughs, or gut feelings about decisions. Many of these are your parallel selves sharing information across dimensions. The consciousness bridge mechanism. Reference: Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff's orchestra theory. The orchestrated objective reduction theory suggests that consciousness arises from quantum processes in microtubules within brain neurons. These quantum processes operate outside of space-time, creating natural bridges to parallel reality information. How it works. Your consciousness exists as a quantum field that transcends individual realities. Specific resonance states allow access to different parallel self-information. The information integrates through your nervous system as sudden knowing, skills, or insights. Your current reality choices then influence all your parallel selves. The quantum feedback loop. Here's the mind-bending part. Every choice you make doesn't just affect your future, it influences all your parallel selves across all realities. When I chose to share my geneticist self's ethical concerns publicly, it created a resonance field that strengthened the ethical resolve of all my parallel versions. According to quantum field healing research, if every part contains the whole, then healing any aspect of yourself heals all versions across all realities. This is why profound healing work often feels like it's resolving issues you didn't even know you had. When I worked through the ethical trauma my geneticist self was experiencing, it created healing resonance across all my parallel versions. I could feel old patterns of perfectionism and scientific rigidity dissolving across multiple dimensional layers of myself. The parallel self-integration process. Based on my direct experience and research, here's how conscious parallel self-integration actually works. Phase 1. Recognition. You begin noticing skills, knowledge, or patterns that don't match your current life experience. Instead of dismissing these, you recognize them as parallel self-bleed-through. Phase 2. Communication. Through specific consciousness techniques, you can establish direct communication with parallel versions of yourself. This isn't imagination, it's quantum field communication. Phase 3. Integration. You consciously choose which aspects of your parallel selves to integrate into your current reality, creating a more complete, multidimensional version of yourself. Phase 4. Influence. Your integrated awareness then influences all your parallel selves, creating positive change across infinite versions of your existence. Now I'm going to share the specific protocols I've developed for consciously accessing and integrating your parallel selves. These techniques are based on the science we've discussed and my direct experiential mapping. Protocol 1. Parallel self-scanning. Step 1. Holographic awareness state. Enter deep meditation focusing on the space between thoughts. Visualize your consciousness as a point of light that exists simultaneously everywhere. Feel into the quantum field that connects all versions of you. Step 2. Resonance tuning. Ask, show me the version of myself who has mastered specific area. Feel for a subtle shift in your energy or awareness. Trust the first impressions, images, or sensations that arise. Step 3. Information download. Allow yourself to become this parallel self temporarily. Experience their memories, skills, and knowledge as if they were your own. Notice how their perspective differs from your current viewpoint. Protocol 2. Parallel self-communication. Direct dialogue technique. Establish contact using Protocol 1. Ask your parallel self specific questions about their experiences. Listen for responses that come as thoughts, images, or direct knowing. Have a genuine conversation across dimensional boundaries. Information verification. Test the information you receive against practical reality. Look for knowledge or insights you couldn't have known otherwise. Notice how this information influences your decision-making. Protocol 3. Conscious integration. Skill integration process. Identify specific abilities your parallel self possesses. Visualize these skills downloading into your current nervous system. Practice applying these abilities in your daily life. Notice how your confidence and competence naturally expand. Emotional pattern integration. Recognize emotional wisdom your parallel self has developed. Feel their emotional maturity integrating into your energy field. Apply their emotional intelligence to your current relationships and challenges. Protocol 4. Holographic healing. Cross-dimensional healing technique. Identify an issue or trauma you want to heal. Connect with the version of yourself who has already healed this issue. Allow their healing energy to flow into your current reality. Feel the resolution happening across all dimensional layers of yourself. Advanced protocol. Parallel reality shifting. Conscious timeline navigation. Identify the reality where your most aligned self exists. Feel into the choices that version of you made differently. Begin making those same choices in your current reality. Notice how your reality begins shifting to match that parallel version. Warning: this is advanced work. Start slowly and always maintain grounding in your current reality. Integration practices. Daily awareness. Throughout your day, ask, what would my most evolved parallel self do here? Notice sudden insights, skills, or knowledge that arise. Trust information that comes through your holographic connection. Weekly parallel self check-ins. Set aside time each week for conscious parallel self-communication. Ask for guidance on current challenges from versions who have already solved them. Share insights and support with your parallel selves. Monthly integration review. Assess how parallel self-integration is affecting your life. Notice areas where you've developed new capabilities or insights. Adjust your integration practices based on results. What I'm sharing with you isn't just fascinating theory, it's a fundamental shift in how you understand your own existence and potential. You are not limited to this one version of yourself, this one timeline, this one set of experiences. The holographic truth about you is that you are simultaneously every version of yourself that exists across infinite parallel realities. The geneticist version of me, the version of you who made different choices, the version who has already mastered what you're learning, they're all equally real, equally accessible, equally part of who you are. Understanding this changes everything about how you approach learning and skill development, how you heal trauma and limiting patterns, how you make decisions and navigate challenges, how you understand your purpose and potential. The Global Coherence Research shows that increasing numbers of people are spontaneously accessing parallel reality information. This isn't coincidence, it's part of a species-wide evolution in consciousness. As our planet goes through this massive transition, those who learn to consciously navigate their holographic nature become bridges, translators, and guides for others awakening to their multidimensional existence. Your holographic responsibility. With this knowledge comes profound responsibility. Every choice you make affects not just your current life, but all versions of yourself across all realities. Every healing you achieve, every limitation you transcend, every act of love and wisdom you embody ripples across the infinite hologram of your existence. We are evolving from single timeline beings to consciously multidimensional holographic entities. This isn't science fiction, it's the next stage of human evolution, and it's happening right now. Moving forward. Over the next few days, I want you to pay attention to sudden knowledge or skills that appear without explanation. Insights that seem to come from a wiser version of yourself. Dreams or meditations where you encounter other versions of yourself. Moments when you feel connected to infinite possibilities. These are all signs that your holographic nature is activating. The journey continues. In our next transmission, we're going to explore neuroplasticity revolution, rewiring your brain for higher consciousness. We'll dive into how your brain physically changes when you begin accessing your holographic nature, and the specific techniques for consciously directing your neurological evolution. I'll share the exact protocols I use to literally rewire my brain after my near-death experience, and how this neurological transformation is what makes accessing parallel selves and expanded consciousness states possible. The version of you watching this video right now? You're just one facet of an infinite, magnificent, multidimensional being. Your parallel selves are cheering you on, sharing their wisdom, and celebrating every step of your awakening. You are so much more vast and powerful than you've ever imagined. Thank you for joining me in exploring the holographic nature of your existence. Until our next quantum encounter, remember, you contain infinite versions of yourself, and they're all rooting for your success. This is Elena d'Avalon, reminding you that your consciousness is holographic, multidimensional, and absolutely extraordinary.